Hi, my name is Chris Watkin, and today I've taken the proverbial WatkinSofa on tour to that there London. Today I'm joined by David Lindley and Matt Giggs, and they are two of the three people who've started the firm By Design. Thanks for joining me today, chaps.
Thank you for having us.
There you go. I know your trio, the three amigos. Mark Burgess can't be here today.
No.
I think he's gallivanting around the world. The reason we're doing today is that these guys invited me down to their podcast, PropertyPOrnstars, and I just thought I'd use the opportunity to find out what their By Design was all about. Is it a self-employed model? Is it for posh agents, low agents, whatever? And I must stress to you that even though I'm focusing on this, they've not paid me to do this. It's just part of the WatkinSofa. If you were up in Grantham, we would be having this chat. So I thought we'd just use the opportunity.
We were due to have the chat back in.
Well, trying to get you three,
actually,
trying to get you three together in the same room.
October, November. I can't even remember what it was. But
there you go.
Anyway.
Okay, so the three of you have come together and set up this thing called By Design, which my understanding is well, what is well? You describe it to me in one sentence.
So it is the premium marketing vehicle for independent estate agents to use to get into the upper quartile homes in their area.
What would you say?
What he said.
What he says. So
Far more eloquent.
It's almost like, I mean, we won't mention their name, but there is a upmarket, almost, I think I would call it a franchise. It's not a franchise, it's a license that existing agents can bolt on to their existing agent to go for the upper quartile with a different brand.
Can I just say, so for one of the reasons why, what I tend to say to people is people look to battle in the lower end for fees. If you want to increase your fees, go into the higher market. And if you can offer something that's tangibly different, it's going to allow you that opportunity. And that's why estate agents adding it to their core brand, which is what you just said.
So it's a bolt-on brand with marketing support that they pay so much a month for, and for that you can use your branding, your marketing, and your support to break into the upper quartile. Is that it in a nutshell?
Yeah.
So why do you think the UK needed that when there's a perfectly good one out there and a few others that do exactly the same?
So, should we name names then? So to kind of tell the story a little bit about how we got to where we are here. So I left my role as the CEO of Fine & Country, which is a similar business model back in 2020.
Really similar? Well, I wouldn't know that. There you go. Eh? Wow.
And some time went past, and Mark Burgess actually DM'd me, and he said, "Look, I'm thinking about doing something in the premium market. Can we meet up for a coffee and a chat?" And I think at the time he just wanted to pick my brains on it. And so we met up, and Mark and I had known each other from before, got on really well, and see the world very similarly from a industry, prop tech, marketing perspective. Anyway, we said, yeah, well, I'm thinking about doing something. He's thinking about doing something. We could do something together here. And to cut a long story short, the missing piece in that puzzle was someone who could bring the estate agency experience and coaching and training to it. And we said, well, really, we should reach out to Matt. And that's how the three of us came together. Came together to deliver what? So what By Design is the marketing, the tools, the differentiation, the technology, and the training that an independent estate agent would need to break into the premium market in their particular area.
So it's not just simply a logo.
No. I think, dare I say it, that's sometimes a trap that agents can fall into. Is just sticking.
Because let's be honest, all you have to do is just blackboard, bit of gold writing, couple of middle names, and you'll be fine. Doesn't work, does it? No. So why doesn't it work?
Well, I know, because I think from an estate agency point of view, you've got your core market, your core brand, and you're synonymous for selling a particular kind of home to a particular kind of market, and you serve that and operate that really well. That tends to be the agent that we're going to end up working with. And when you start to try and go and use that brand in different areas of the market, you can then dilute what you've succeeded in.
Because a lot of agents, they just take their own brand and put a black back. I keep going back to the black and,
And don't get me wrong, there's still one or two around the country that I've seen who've done that brilliantly, and I'm not going to name names, but there are.
But they're the exception to the rule, aren't
they?
They
feel like they're the exception to the rule. And what we've realised, and I've realised for 4 years, of really ploughing a lot of time into understanding so I always reverse engineer it. The people that we want to serve and operate with, the customer, what do they actually need and want, and then work our way back from there. And that's what we've built our service around. So that's what we're constructed.
Coming back to something that you said in the podcast we recorded earlier, you were talking about how in your stats show you focus on different towns and cities around the UK. And you were talking in there about, remind me what you said about how many locations it was where one brand was successful in the residential, the middle and upper market.
We've at the time of filming, we've done 30 locations where we focus 15 minutes on that town and we drill really down. We look at which agent puts the most on the market in different price sectors, what they sell. And there's only one location out of the 30 where the dominant agent is both in the lower, middle and upper market. In all the other 29 locations, there's quite clearly a distinct difference. You've got the posh end, upper quartile, and they're dominant players, and everyone else in the lower to middle. So it's quite obvious, 29 out of 30 locations, you need a separate brand. Now, what goes behind that brand is important.
That's the meat and the bones, you know, it's the meat on the bones. The bones, the brand, yeah. But what's the meat? What is it that's absolutely different and going to help that agent to elevate themselves and leverage themselves with clients who actually want a different experience than what their core brand would give?
They want a Waitrose experience, not a Lidl experience.
Yeah.
Or Tesco's, or, you know.
Whatever it might be, but there's different brands for different markets. So kind of coming back to this, what the proposition is, and then maybe I'll talk about why it's so important to do this. But the differentiation behind By Design really is this, so By Design agents can offer customers the combination of local independent expertise and experience, which I think on balance most customers would want rather than a big corporate, somewhat faceless machine. However, they have national exposure and marketing strength of a corporate, so they get the best of both worlds.
If you don't, I've got to interject here. Is you know, I'm a bit of a stato.
Really?
No shit. Yeah. I love to analyse different estate agents and how successful they are, and this is in the vast majority of estate agents, but particularly in the upper quartile. Is this those agents who are in the upper quartile, who are independent, have a greater chance of selling the house over the upper quartile corporates. And the gap is a country mile.
Mm-hmm. But why do you think that is?
Because the agent, the independent agent has skin in the game. Yeah, skin in the game.
I honestly think you've got to know everything. When you're selling a product like a 1 or 2 or 3 million pound property, you've got to know the detail. You've got to understand why that person brought it. Beyond that, what's on offer to the next buyer. And the local agent and the person that's invested in the community and they understand their community is the kind of agent that we're looking to work with, because that's what they bring to the table, isn't it?
And I mean, it's a level playing field, isn't it? You know, your Rightmove and your Zooplas means that you have an equal level playing field with the likes of your Sabs and your Knight Franks. It's what you do over and above that.
Absolutely,
yes,
yeah.
So I mean, and on that particular note, because I think that you're right. Mark asked me quite a pertinent question when we first met. He said, if you were gonna start something like Fine & Country again, what would you do differently? And I've got a lot of love and respect for 100%. All of the agents in Fine & Country. Some of them are my closest friends, but there's competition.
It's a brilliant brand.
It is. And the key thing though is that in By Design, we all work on one CRM system, which is Lifecycle, and that's obviously where Mark Burgess comes into the picture. And the power of that is a fewfold, not just what Lifecycle does as a really a marketing first CRM, but actually from an estate agency practice perspective. I'll give you an example, is someone in Bedford was looking to make a viewing on a property that By Design in Norfolk had on the market. By Design in Bedfordshire can see that. Not only do they have to go and look for it, it's presented to them on their dashboard as an opportunity to speak to that vendor.
It's not as like a referral system that someone has to physically cut and paste.
You're not relying on people.
Exactly.
Sorry, that sounds bad.
But no, but
but there's human error involved if you do rely on people, and that's the beauty of working together in one system, one big database of high net worth individuals. It's hugely exciting, and that's the big. And
you will get that in the upper quartile, people moving from one part of the country.
Absolutely.
And if you're relying on Floss the Neg to put something in, cut and paste something into a system, and the phone call comes, oh, what was it doing? Oh, well,
yeah. And even if she does it, the time will have passed potentially as well. So by doing this in an automated way, we get the inside track as By Design, and that's what's exciting to me.
I mean, you know, I'm a paid up member of the Lifecycle fan club. You know,
and
other CRMs are available, but I am a big fan of it. I've gone on record on saying it. But the beauty is that that's only just clicked with me. You know, why one big one? Oh, it's because it's Mark's part of the gang. But now that's the penny's just dropped.
Yeah, there's a really big picture, a really exciting big picture there. Sorry.
But Mark was talking to me 4 years before we started with Lifecycle at the Gigs Group. So 2 years before we started by Design, you know, Mark and I had gone on another journey. And I really understood the importance of building a network because I had Signature Homes, which was my premium brand. So, you know, that was 4 years in. And you're thinking, Jesus Christ, this is a better idea because Signature Homes hasn't got that reach, hasn't got that scale. And we aren't going to get access to buyers in different counties from this area who are buying in different counties, who we can have access to in the earlier part of their process. So we're not promising you're going to get all of that off the bat. But we know as part of our vision, this is a huge part.
And if you think about it, the people in the upper quartile might want to live in Lincolnshire.
Absolutely.
Different in that I want to live in Grantham. I mean, obviously Grantham is the centre of the universe, obviously.
Of course. The metropolis.
But if you're dealing with something with 10 acres and a menage or you know, what do they call it?
Menage.
Yeah, them as well. You know, you can...
It's because my wife's got horses.
There you go, bloody horses. That's the beauty, is that when you start plugging the gaps in, it will, you know, the more people that join, the better it will become.
Exactly. Snowballs.
It's unbelievable how if it goes to where we believe it will get to, it's going to be incredible.
Okay, so we've got a great CRM, which is by definition, I'm a massive fan of. I'm not been paid to say that, but I am. It's fantastic. Like most things, though, you have to feed it, don't you? Because it's all about nurture journeys.
That's one of our challenges, is helping the agents to understand the importance of doing that. So that's
you do help them on that, though, don't you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that Lifecycle, and then to a degree, the whole of by Design is a bit like having a supercar in the garage. It's lovely, but it's not going to do anything unless you pour fuel in it and then you drive it. And coming back to your point there, specifically around content. So we do 2 pieces of content every week on interest and awareness piece. We bundle those up into a newsletter at the end of each month. But what's more probably important and pertinent than that is customer journeys. So, for example, next week, probably dating this episode a little bit, but next week we've got Chris England, Matt Lee coming down to do some not only videography training with by Design agents, but we're going to be recording customer journeys personalized to their area so that vendors meet the agent before the valuations even happened. And I think that's what's really important, is that local resonance on the national picture. But kind of aside from all of that, like without getting too bogged down into actually by design, I think that it's important to start with why to a degree. And not only why we started by design, but also why we started PropertyPOrnstars, our premium property podcast as well. And that is a belief I think that you and I both have, that
hunger.
Estate agents, independent estate agents, would benefit hugely from moving up market. And if I can kind of...
Well, surely it's just a posher house, you get more fee. You get, 1% of £1 million is more than 1% of 500,000.
1.5% even better, Chris.
So to kind of put some meat on the bone...
Yeah, let's say we've got some meat on the bones here.
Yeah. So I think there's like a push and a pull factor. So the push factor is also, I think, something that the three of us have in common, is we spend a lot of time speaking to estate agents. And especially at the moment, it seems like it's without being Debbie Downer, is quite tough at the moment. You've got all the macroeconomic factors going on, but you've got things like wage inflation pushing up wages. You've got pressure on fees, and there's always going to be an onliner of some kind biting at the bottom and trying to lower those fees down, and competition for instructions. And I think that makes for quite a tough place in the residential market.
Have you got some stats that you can show us on the screen now?
So yeah, I mean, like just as an example, I found this really interesting. The end of 2022, there was 10.6% more estate agency businesses than there was at the start of 2022. Yeah. And you might say, well, that's probably because of the growth of some of the self-employed models, like an EXP, for example, and they have to have registered.
Because you're not a self-employed model, are you?
No, but they will have registered limited companies that go on Companies House that makes up that stat. But either way you look at it, that's 10.6% more estate agencies in a year. That's a lot more competition. And that compresses margins in the residential marketplace. And I think that because we're here in the studio, I might leverage the ever-talented Michael behind the scenes here to put some of this stuff on screen for us. But there's something that I believe is a bit of a mirage in estate agency. And that is where, if you looked at all the transactions in land registry and you see where the purple patch looks to be, just 1 second.
So Michael, bring up the graph with the nice coloured bandings on if you can.
So what that shows is what the perception might be, that's where the action is. So that's just price bands taken off of land registry for completions in 2022. And you could look at that and say, well, if I was going to set up an estate agency, I'd set up focusing on that green section of the market.
Yeah,
there.
but it's a busy old marketplace.
Yes, and also
It's getting busier as well, Chris.
It is.
you'll
It's a
see.
crowded marketplace.
Massively.
So if we move on to the next set of stats here, what we look at here is what that marketplace looks like if you just multiplied it by a flat 1% fee.
Okay.
So let's not assume that there is any growth in fees as you go out the market. Let's just say it's flat. It's 1% all the way up and all the way down the market. You'll still be able to see on there how that color changes and begins to spread out and move up market somewhat from where you would imagine it to be just from a quantity transaction churn
There
level.
goes.
And then when you look at the actual fees, so what we're doing here is we're taking the land registry quantities of what's sold in what price
Okay.
band,
So we're on the next slide. Yep.
and then we're compiling that together with Unchained Marketing conducted a survey earlier this year. I'm not sure whether you guys have read it. It's called The Voice of the Agent, and it surveyed 553 estate agents across the country on stuff like prop tech adoption, on their
So this is
anticipation
Simon
of,
Ledbetter, isn't it?
Yep,
Yep.
on their anticipation of regulation and things like that. And one of the things it got into was their average fee levels at certain price points. And when you put that information on top of what we just looked at here, it shows a completely different story. That premium marketplace, despite there being fewer quantity of sales happening, if you multiply the higher value with the higher fees, which just makes sense in that premium market, it becomes incredibly lucrative. And I think that, regardless of how you do it, be it by design, be it something else, even if you just listen to Property Porn Stars, that's the most important thing for me, is to get into that marketplace. And if I just go one step further, and then I'll shut up about my stats, and I'm even boring you, Chris, with stats, and that's probably coming to something.
Okay. So now we're on the pie charts.
So this here shows,
Love a pie chart.
I love a pie chart. Exactly, I love a pie chart.
Is that it's not a market share pie chart, is it? Because if it is, you can get off my sofa right now.
You're still.
You're still. Fear not, it is not a right move pie chart.
Oh, that's all right.
All I want to show here is this, is that if you look at what that means, the sales over £500,000, so call that the upper quartile, that only represents 18% of the market.
Yeah.
It's a niche.
Yeah.
But that niche
How much talk about the monies?
is 51% of all of the estate agency fees in the market.
There you go.
And that's what's so important, is that it looks like it's small. We best not edit that out.
Porn stars.
Yeah.
That's what Melissa says all the time, but never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey!
Oh God, I was going to say something there. Go on.
It looks like, I think I know what you're going to say. It looks like it's a niche market, but actually it is the market.
Yeah.
And just to really illustrate that, over half of all the fees that everyone in the industry is chasing happens over £500,000. And like, if you
I didn't realise it was that much.
And if you are an independent estate agent thinking about this now, then think, who is that in my area? Who's taking that away from me? Because that should be your market.
And then the next step beyond that is, how the hell do I get into it, and what does it take to get started? So
and you've tried.
I've done it.
You've
I've done
tried.
I've done two, Chris. I've done Giggs & Co. Signature homes on the black and white board and wrote it on there. Then I've done a completely new brand, which was Signature Homes, which was good, was successful, made good net profit, but it was not scalable and it didn't offer something tangibly different. We've realised there's about 15 or 16 different steps. That
one of which is
needs.
a logo, branding.
Yeah, the branding.
Yeah, but that's one.
There's loads, and we take about 13 or 14 of those away from the agents that join the
Because these
network.
agents are really busy, aren't they? I mean,
They haven't got time to do that. Even like you mentioned content earlier, producing regular content, which they can then grab and do a video on if they want, but just delivering regular content to their market who want the content that we're talking about.
So we're going after this market because it's a big chunk of fees. The competition up there is not so fierce. It's hard work to break into it.
It's a longer game.
But if you can break into it, you're going to earn more money.
Yeah.
We all agree that you need some kind of different branding, but slapping the word on a black background and signature or fine and whatever words is not going to work.
Not the answer.
So you need great branding, you need great marketing and a good CRM system So where's the catch? Because it all does sound a bit too good to be true here.
The catch is, in my opinion...
Oh, you're going to take 50% of their fee, are you?
No, we don't take a penny out of their fee. Not one penny.
So how are you earning your money then?
David, you're the expert in this
Where's
area.
the money?
Show me the money.
Just before David delivers that part, the catch is the agent's commitment.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll help them to have a territory, a plan. We'll help set them up with where they're heading. But the next bit is then doing the things that they need to do, which is about 2 or 3 of the steps of the 15 or 16 steps to building their brand.
You're outsourcing the heavy lifting, but it isn't
100%.
just a plug and play. Because again, if you don't mind me saying, David, that in your previous employment, there are people in that network that just buy the name and don't do anything with it. And then there's one next door, which are like 1,000,000% fees and, like a pig in poo.
Oh man, I've seen, just in my experience, I've seen how this premium market changes businesses, changes lives. It is a completely different ballgame. And to illustrate that out of any bias is, we talked earlier on the PropertyPOrnstars podcast, we had Ian Story on there. And he was a guest because he has positioned his brand, his market intentionally in that premium property market. And listening to him talk, listening to what most of the pains are from a lot of normal estate agents in the residential market across the country is night and day. He only takes on properties which inspire him at, what did you say his fee was?
Well, it's 2%, but he's
1.98% fees.
Average.
Because if you can differentiate your proposition, your brand, and your service for that premium marketplace, then it is very, very lucrative.
So you're looking for estate agents in the UK. I'm assuming it's just one per location?
Sorry, I didn't answer the question, did I? No, it's a really good point.
Yeah,
so the way it works is on exclusive territories.
Okay, I like that. I like exclusivity.
And that's really important so that you have the ownership of the brand and its advantages in your area against anyone else. But it's also advantageous then because you join a network of agents who collaborate.
And do you get together and regional meetings and share ideas? And
yeah, I mean, one of our core values is collaboration, and that is so important. You can't all be in one CRM system if you don't collaborate. But it's more deep-rooted than that. It is working together as a team with like-minded agents who win when you win and you win when they win across the country. And how the business model works is that we don't charge a percentage of profit or revenue. The way that By Design works is we take a license fee per month, usually about £1,000 per month, and then agents contribute into the National Advertising Fund, which gives us the kind of firepower, and that costs about £500 a month. And that gives us the firepower that none of us could achieve on our own. So for example, we advertise every month in the Times, in the digital, the iPad, the iPhone editions there. Readers can, not only is that good brand affiliation for us, but readers can see us, they can register as a buyer, they can request an instant valuation and can request valuations straight out of the Times when they're reading it. And if you look at the proportion of Times readers that are online versus in print, it is chalk and cheese. So that's a sort of a summary of how the business model works. And you're right, we do get confused with self-employed models, and that's not really what we are or who we are. And
someone looking at the National Marketing Fund, they've actually got some control over that as well. So in their own territory, which they've got the exclusivity of, they've got certain postcodes that they know are higher end houses, upper quartile. So the way in which we can reach those places through the likes of Google and those kind of analytics and stuff, and we can target.
So you're doing all that as well?
So we'll help them specifically and individually to target the right market. They don't have to do it. They have to invest in it and give us the information, and then we go and get on with it for them.
We have a license-based upper quartile marketing branding package with a great CRM, support guidance, the CRM which allows leads to be by osmosis moving across the country. Yes, it's not cheap, but at the end of the day, you get what you pay for in this world. Surely there must be a catch.
I think it all comes down to the agent's motivation, I think. And if you want to be in that marketplace, this is a ready-made vehicle for you to get in and drive into that premium marketplace.
You've still got to get in the car and drive it.
Still got to get in the car and drive it.
Anything else you want to add before we finish?
We're nearly coming up to a year in, and we've started in 17, I think, locations, regions. And that's pretty significant when you talk about the climate. So we're pretty proud of that. I just don't think that's definitely something we shouldn't ignore. I just shared one of the listings in Surrey, which is 3.7 million, an exceptional house. So the brand's really starting to work. we've got a lot of catching up to do if we were to compare ourselves to anybody else, but we're not. We're going to go on our own journey with our own group. We're going to collaborate and grow together. And what's exciting for me is that this is joined up, and that we want to see others succeed, and they won't get punished for that success. So we're really keen to get this out there, but we're going to need people that are genuinely interested in committing to taking action to help us to scale in their area as well.
Chaps, I wish you well. It's a shame Mark can't be here, but I wish the three of you good luck.
No, we wouldn't have got a word in if he was there.
No, he was. Okay. But I wish you well on your journey. I do know a number of agents that have taken the by design license on, and they love it to bits. Good luck on your journey.
Chris.
I must state for the record, other models are available.
Yep.
I have to say that because, as I said, I'm not being paid to do this video, but it's important that you check this out. You've got a pedigree of three amazing people who are very well thought of in the industry. And if they've come together and producing this, it needs serious consideration if you want to get into that upper quartile. Chaps, thanks for your time today.
Chris.
Thank you for yours.
Cheers.